Hello, people of the internet. So happy to be here with my guest, Stacy Reed. Um, and we're going to have an amazing chat today about marketing automation and Facebook ads, the things that we are respective experts in. So I want to start with you, Stacy. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a little about your brilliance and how you came to achieve that.
Yeah, thank you. I'm super excited for this chat. Little background about me. So, I've been in marketing for 11 years, and it's funny because like when I started in marketing, I remember digital marketing being a specialization. Now everybody is like specialized in ads or organic social or email, and so when I started, I really had to learn a lot of different types of digital marketing. Really had to have my hand in all different types of things. I also, while I really kind of started my corporate career, I also started freelancing on the side. I'm like a serial side hustler. And so I was like, you know what? I know how to do marketing. I can help you out. And so I started with just posting on my personal Facebook page saying like, hey, I can help you do marketing. Took on clients for free 99, like we all kind of started when we do. Fast forward to really kind of growing in my career and having amazing experiences. And then I started to work at Zappos. And so I was at Zappos for about 4 years. I led paid social there. And when I got to Zappos, I really got immersed into the world of paid social. We were meeting with reps from Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok, all of these different reps that were really kind of responsible for helping us to be successful on the platform because they wanted us to spend more money. I really got the opportunity and the privilege to be able to work directly with these platforms to learn how to do Facebook and Instagram ads and all these different paid social platforms at scale. And so I've generated over $150 million with Facebook and Instagram ads, ran ad campaigns for some of your favorite brands outside of like just like Zappos, but UGG, Birkenstock, Adidas, Nike, Crocs, all different types of brands, hundreds of brands. And now I work with clients who are in the online business space and I teach them how to run Facebook ads themselves, how to do it in-house so that they don't have to spend money on an agency. And they can really learn how to develop this skill that is a long-term sustainable growth strategy for their business. So I help brands when they're really ready to go into scale mode and they're like, hey, I have something that's working. I'm ready to take what I'm doing to the next level. And automation definitely plays into that as you're scaling and all that kind of good stuff. So I'm super excited to really kind of have this conversation today where we can see the overlap between the two.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, if any of you are new to me, I'm Kronda Adair. I'm a certified automation service provider. I'm the CEO of Carvel Digital. And like Stacy, I started out very humble beginnings, $500 websites, just that rite of passage. And didn't move into marketing until a few years in when I realized people were hiring us to build websites and they thought, this website is my marketing. They thought that having this website was going to fix everything. And I was like, yeah, that's not happening. so I got really frustrated to the point where I just like cut it all off and said, you know what, I'm no longer going to make websites. And I went into coach mode and I ran a content boot camp for 4 years, teaching mission driven service based business owners how to show up online and market and sell and be a real person online and have people be drawn to you and say, I like that person. I like what they're saying. I want to know more. About a year into that was when the pandemic hit. So then that was a whole other level of people needing to be able to do that. And so I did that until just this January, when last year I started seeing a shift really in what people were needing. Because on the backs of doing content bootcamp, very quickly people started to come to me and say, well, this is amazing and it's working, but our technology like is a mess and we can't do all the stuff that you're telling us to do. And so we created a back end offer to help people rectify that situation with their technology. And what I found last year is that people were not as interested in having sort of this umbrella solution under like a retainer based offer. And so I really started honing in on the marketing automation part of that. Like, what were people doing with marketing automation? And I started doing actual audits of people's active campaign accounts. And I found out a lot of people are not doing that much, you know, and I liken it to having like a fancy, $5,000 DSLR camera and you just sit in your living room and you pick it up and you take pictures of your cat. It's like you're sitting on all this power and
Yeah.
possibility, and they're like, "I've got a welcome sequence," and I was like, "Okay, we can do better. We can do better." So, I wanted to have this conversation because these two things go together so beautifully. It's like on our end, we're going to take the traffic that you're getting and we're going to make sure that the people coming into your email list are going to have an optimized experience, that they're going to get welcome in, that they're going to get relevant messaging relative to how they got on your list, and that they're going to get sold to, right? We're going to tell them how they can actually get your help, because that's the piece so many people are not doing. And so, but you need traffic, right? So that's where you come in. So
Mhm.
let's start with you and talk about, I'm curious, what are some of the mistakes that you see people making, like most commonly when it comes to Facebook ads?
That's such a great question. There's definitely a few that come to mind. And I'll say that the top one that is definitely super relevant to our conversation is not understanding and going into Facebook ads before they even start running anything, and understanding that most of the people that you're going to be attracting with your Facebook ads are cold traffic, meaning they don't know who you are. They have not seen your Facebook posts, they have not heard your voice, they've not listened to your podcast, they've not gotten on your email list. They have no idea who you are, but what they do have is a curiosity about a problem that, they have a desire to solve a problem that you are saying that you can solve. And so when you go into it understanding that most of the people that are going to see your ads are cold people, and then you also layer in an understanding how people buy things, meaning that people have to know, like, and trust you. They have to really kind of like understand who you are, buy into your methodology, and believe that you can trust them. I mean, believe that you can help them before they're even going to buy from you. And so if you take all of that and you kind of put that in your mind frame of understanding that most of these people are cold traffic, they have to actually know me before they're going to buy from me. One of the biggest mistakes I see is that people don't take into account the importance of having their customer journey already mapped out and set up before they start running ads. A lot of times people think I can just run ads to a webinar and just fill my webinar and that's it. We don't think about having welcome sequences. We don't think about all of this great amazing content that you've already created that people will need to consume before they're going to buy from you. It's not always about just creating new. And so we don't take the time to map out what that customer journey is going to be, what those touch points we have to have with people before we start running ads. A lot of people just think they can just start running ads because at the end of the day, we want to get Facebook. We're going to get people off of Facebook, right? That's the goal, is to get people off Facebook and into our marketing ecosystem. But we don't take into account that not everybody's going to go through your funnel the first time and convert. So you're going to have some emails. Not everybody that lands on your webinar is going to actually convert from you. So you have to have emails that go out. You have to be showing up organically. You have to direct people to your different marketing channels, because in the space that we're in now, marketing is very much an ecosystem. We have to have multiple touch points with people, and people are going to look at your social. They are going to go to your podcast. They are going to have multiple touch points with you. But if you can facilitate that journey and make that journey easier for people, it helps to get people to the sale a lot faster. It helps people go from being a cold person that has never heard of you to actually sold into your products and programs.
Yeah, I love that. And I find that to be so true. And that what we're experiencing right now is that a lot of people do this process in the wrong order, right? It's cart before
Mhm.
the horse. And I have had so many people tell me, like, well, I can't start working with you yet because I'm working with my Facebook ad strategist. And I was like, no, sweetheart, that's backwards. Like, what are you going to
Yeah.
do with all those leads? And I have a pretty funny, kind of outraged Instagram post that I did. It was a live when I had this like colander, you know, I had like a colander and I had a thimble
I
and a
remember
bucket.
that.
And yeah, you're right. And
I
it's
do
like
remember.
the thimble is you like doing your reels every day, and you're posting your posts and stuff. And that's, you got your organic efforts, right? And if you have no follow-up, they're falling through those cracks. And then you go to Facebook or Instagram ads, and now you've got a whole bucket that you're pouring into this leaky colander. And I'm like, just don't. And
Yeah.
so what I'm hoping this conversation will do is get people just to think about, where am I at in my business right now? And what's the next right step to take? So, from our perspective, we're on the side of, we're going to help you strategize and build that customer journey. And you would be surprised. A lot of people just don't have the basics in place. And so, let me just talk about what I mean when I say the basics. For us, when we go in, the tool that we implement in is Active Campaign, and then we'll consult on other technologies. But the basic process is you want to make sure that your account is organized, right? You want to make sure you don't have a million lists and a bunch of tags and segments that have been created on the fly that you come in later and you're like, I don't know what I even meant with this, And
I have
so,
those.
right? And so the first part is just taking a step back, and we can come in from the outside and very quickly look at things and, ask you some questions about, okay, what did you mean by this? What were you trying to do here? And we can get that organized, right? Because you want to have a house where you know where things are, you can able to put your hands on things, what automations mean by looking at the name, things like that, right? And then the next thing we're going to do is just build that initial journey. And these are the two things I always say. If you just have a strategic and targeted welcome sequence, and then you have a sales sequence right after that for the people who haven't bought, like, I feel like those two foundational pieces could change a lot of businesses of the people who are watching this,
Yeah.
now or in the future. So that's really what we strive to put into place, first off. And I think if you don't have that as a minimum, then you have no business, going and trying to pour, more traffic into your ecosystem. So that would
Yeah.
be the basics. You talked a little bit about, where do people need to be to run ads? Can you say a little more about that? Like, what are some of the signs? What are some of the either milestones you might have hit that say like, oh, it's time to run ads, or what are some of the pain points people might be experiencing that means like they should be knocking on your door right now?
Yeah, yeah, great question. And I love how talk about having that welcome sequence and sales sequence combination, because it really is important for and I kind of like think about it as shifting from thinking about selling as one to one and selling to one to many. And that's really what you're doing with ads is you're shifting from doing like one-on-one sales calls, you're shifting from, or even if you are still doing sales calls, but you're shifting from focusing on getting one lead and then nurturing that one lead and then moving them to the sale. With ads, you're focusing on talking to a lot of people at once, but still having a very personalized conversation. So there is a whole lot of nuance there. But I would definitely say if you're thinking that some of the signs that or some of the pain points and things that you may be experiencing in your business that shows that it's time to run ads is that if you're looking at your organic presence, one of the things is that like if you're posting a lot, if you're creating a ton of content and you feel like you're just endlessly creating content after content after content piece, but your content is not getting enough eyeballs or it's not getting enough life, then that's a signal that you definitely want to start to think about how you can use ads to drive to drive traffic to pieces of content that convert. If you also are doing a lot of marketing, but you don't feel like your revenue is matching, so you've kind of hit a revenue ceiling, meaning like you're showing up every week, you're with your weekly content or your long-term content, you're posting on social, you're going live, you're doing all these things, you're sending your emails, but you really feel like your revenue has not increased, or even if it has increased, it's increased very, very by a very small percentage. You aren't seeing really like exponential incremental growth. And so that's definitely a signal there, is if you're feeling like despite doing all this marketing, our efforts are not really kind of tracking. And if you think about like the fact that organic reach drops every year. So if you're looking at like last year, let's say you had to put out 52 pieces of content in order to get this to hit the sales that you've created. This year is going to take more than that because organic reach has dropped. So if you're finding that instead that you're thinking about, hey, maybe I need to put out another podcast every week, instead of doing that, maybe you start to think about how can I actually start running ads to my podcast content and use that as a lead generator. So that way I don't have to go from creating one podcast a week to two podcasts a week. So really one of the things that you just want to start to look at is your time. Like, is your time being spent efficiently? And is the time that you're putting into your marketing actually tracking back to data and revenue and sales? And are you actually experiencing growth with all of the things that you're doing? So those are kind of some of the signals that I would say you might want to start to pick up on, is like all this effort is not tracking back to enough sales and enough sales growth. And that's what you want to start to figure out, like, how can I start to get my message in front of a lot more people at the same time without all the extra effort that I'm having to put in, without creating the extra pieces of content, without creating all the reels that you have to create. But when you start to really figure out, how do I switch from focusing on a one-to-one kind of marketing effort to a one-to-many or to a more leveraged strategy, then that's what are kind of some signals that you would really kind of think to yourself, like, this is time for me to start running ads. Also, if you know who your people are and you know that you've tapped out your existing audience, like a lot of us are using our personal Facebook pages, or our personal Instagrams, our personal LinkedIn to do a lot of outreach and to do a lot of marketing. And that's great. But at the same time, it still takes a lot of effort. It still takes a lot of you actually manually sending friend requests to all these people and actually getting them on your page and nurturing them. When really, if you were running ads, you can be very targeted. You can be very specific. You wouldn't just get people who are stumbling upon your page because they happen to know someone of a note, be friends of a friend of a friend. So if you start to really feel like you've tapped out your existing audience, that's another really kind of indicator to you that you really start to need to put your money and your effort into a strategy that is going to help you to get in front of a lot more people a lot faster and a lot more efficiently.
Okay. So now that brings up like 3 different things. Let me see if I can remember them all. The first thing is I can almost hear somebody thinking, okay, well, ads are the answer, so I don't need to do organic. What do you have to say about that?
No, that's not true at all. I would
Talk more
definitely
about that.
say, and that's yeah. So that's I'm glad that you pointed that out, because I always tell people that when you start running ads, your organic doesn't stop. Because the thing about organic marketing is that organic helps to build community. Ads don't help. Ads don't really facilitate in building community or helping people feel a sense of community. It's really good for attraction and discovering and even like nurturing your existing audience. Um, so I would definitely say that, like, if you're thinking about organic marketing and showing up with your content, showing up with your podcast, showing up with your emails and that kind of stuff, community is how people buy these days. And that's really kind of just something that we have as business owners need to take into account, especially when you're an online service provider, especially if you're selling high ticket prices or high ticket items. People are not buying from people just because they stumbled upon your your post on Instagram. People are going to be looking at all the different things you do. People do need to sit on your email list sometimes, because everybody that goes through your funnel is not going to convert right away. And so I don't want people to think that organic marketing stops, but I really want you to think about Facebook ads as more of like, I use the analogy of like it's gasoline. And so like you're pouring gasoline on a fire. The fire still has to be burning. If you're not doing anything, you're not knowing what's working in your business, you're not posting, you're doing your organic, then you're just pouring gas onto the ground. Like if you don't have a way to automatically convert leads, you're just pouring gas onto the ground. But if you do have something that's burning, which is your organic marketing, you're getting signals that it's working, you're starting to see, you're making money, you're making sales, then you want to look at Facebook as more of an amplifier instead of a replacement for your organic marketing.
Okay, so I love that you said that, because I feel very much the same. Like I agree with everything you said, and I feel like it's very much the same in terms of people who want to build systems and people who want to automate. I have had so many people in the past come to me and they're like, we'll be on a sales call and I'll say, what is it that you think is your biggest issue right now? And they're like, well, I really need automation. And I'll be like, well, you just told me that your sales process isn't working. So you want to automate that? Like, and
Right.
I'm always saying, if you automate crap, then you get automated crap.
Yeah.
So so the next thing I want to talk about is, you have alluded several times during this conversation is about like knowing what's working, like sending traffic to content that converts. So how do you what are some of the ways that you kind of track and measure, or that people should be implementing to figure out what's working? Like, can you give some tips around that?
Yeah, one of the biggest, and it's so funny that you mentioned this, because I've been feeling like I've been hearing that I needed to say this week, is that if y'all please install Google Analytics on your site. Like that is one of the easiest, quickest things that you can do to start to really get some data about what's working in your business. I've come across business owners who are making $750,000 plus, to people who are just starting out, and a lot of people are missing out on all the data that Google Analytics gives you. It can tell you things like, how are people moving on your site? It's not just, how many people have visited your site, which is important. But what I use Google Analytics for is I didn't use it to track movement on my site. And so when people are going from like, how many people are going from my opt-in page to actually watching my webinar, to actually going from my webinar to my, sales page, those are the kinds of movements that I'm tracking in Google Analytics. And there's a lot you can do in there, but that's one of the things that I would say is that you can actually start to see. And one of the data, and how I really kind of started, to realize that this was working and to kind of really like track back. And I'll give you an example, is I was looking at my funnel and I was just like, why are there so many people that are opting into my landing page, but they're not actually watching the webinar? And so then I look at my ConvertKit, because I have ConvertKit, and I look at my data, and I realized that I had a significant amount of people who were opting into the page, but they weren't confirming their emails. And so they weren't even
Mm.
getting, the sales emails that even, because in my sales emails, I also remind them, hey, go watch the webinar. And so they weren't even getting those sales emails and they weren't getting any correspondence from me because they weren't opting in. And they didn't get the link to watch the webinar either because they weren't confirming their accounts. And so what I did was I did some research and I just put up a page that said like, hey, make sure you go to your email address. Make sure you go to your email and confirm your email subscription. I got significantly more people opting in and actually making it onto my list just because I was looking at my Google Analytics and saw that I had a surge of people that were looking at my landing page, but not enough people were going to the next step. How do I get more people to take the next step? And so those are kinds of ways that you can use data to really kind of see whether your marketing is working. Looking at your Shopify, if you're selling products, looking at your email service provider numbers, making sure, like, one of the things I was also recently looking at is my welcome sequence. What are my open rates? What are the click-through rates? And so I saw that one of my emails, for example, that was maybe like fourth or fifth in my sales sequence was getting a lot of clicks. It's significantly more clicks than some of the other emails. So I just moved that up further in the funnel. So I'm like, well, if a lot of people are clicking on the sales page after email number 5, let me move email number 5 to maybe slot number 3 or slot number 2. So that way I can get more people that are actually going to the sales page. And so those are kinds of some things that you can do using Google Analytics, using your email service provider numbers, looking at your Facebook ad number. So set it and forget it is not my style. It's not something that I teach. So I teach my students actually what metrics matter. How do we really actually review these metrics? And then taking a look at your sales sequence. Take a look at your customer journey and really understanding what data points are important. So the amount of people who your opt-in percentage rate. If you have 10%, if your opt-in rate on your page is 10%, what can you do to get it to 20%? What can you do to get it to 30%? Is it about just simply changing a headline? Is it adding a video? So when you understand and when you map out what your actual customer journey is, then you can start to see what numbers you can actually play around with to actually help more people get through the actual sales process. So those are some of the numbers that I'm looking at all the time.
So good. Okay. So I want to piggyback on a couple of those things. One is one of the things that we set up for our clients is what we call the single double, which I learned from my marketing mentor, Chris Davis. And basically, when somebody opts in, then they're in. So we do the verification on the back end so that you don't experience that thing of like, people aren't going in and clicking and making that extra click. So what we do is, let's say you have a lead magnet and you say, okay, opt in for my lead magnet. Well, we put them on the list and we send them the lead magnet. And when they click on that lead magnet, that's their confirmation. So that's something that we set up for our clients so that, they never experience that, like, hey, I'm getting all these views, but people aren't actually making it onto the list. So that's just an example of one of those, like, you don't know what you don't know things that we
Yeah,
clients
exactly.
just like skate by those kinds of road bumps. And then the other thing is you talked about, looking at your opens, looking at your clicks. And so we create a dashboard where it can be so hard to get this information out of these tools. Like, even if you never are going to log in and look at your Google Analytics, I second I second what you said. Please just install it, because you can't go back and look at data that's not there. You might need to bring in, someone like us to come in and interpret and look at that data for you. But if it's not there, then we can't look at it. And now you're starting from zero and saying, okay, now we got to install it and we got to wait a few months to see what's actually happening. So one, just like, please install and be collecting the data. But it can be so hard to get this information out of these tools and to know, like, where do I even look and what's actually happening. And so one of the things we do is we are heavy users of Airtable, which is an amazing relational database program where we can pull those numbers out of ActiveCampaign. We can pull those numbers and put them into a database and create, a dashboard where you can just click the link to the dashboard and you can see, here's our average clicks for the most, here's our average opens. So if that's the kind of thing that appeals to you, definitely go and check out our services. Let me get my banner up here. Because that's one of the things that we do when we set people up. We'll do an audit and we'll see, like, what do your metrics look like right now, so we know what the baseline that we're starting from. So
that's so
okay.
important. I would say that's so important, y'all, because even just being even if you can't read the data, like she was saying, like, having a place where you can go and only look at the metrics that matter to your business is super important, because there's a lot of information that you can get, even out of Facebook ads. There's tons of information that you can get. But what I teach people is just only the information that matters to you, because it can get a little overwhelming. I get it. Like if you're
Oh,
jumping into
yes.
Google Analytics and you're just seeing all of the things. But if you take the time to bring someone like Kronda onto your team that can actually say, like, these are the metrics that matter to your business and only these, let's only put that into a dashboard, then I find that people will get a little bit more data minded. I'm just always a data minded person anyway. But I find that when my clients have an easy, like, okay, these are the numbers that we need to track, this is a place where I can go to find them, it really does make the takes the overwhelm out of really kind of analyzing your numbers, because you're only focused on what matters to you. So I just wanted to say that that's super important.
Absolutely. All right. So we're coming close to time. I want to respect everybody's time, especially yours. But I know you have a course that you just
Mhm.
launched recently. So tell everybody about your course. Let us know where can they go find out more about that. If you want to skip, and we didn't even talk about the whole agency thing. I know there are like so many horror stories about there about people hiring
Yes.
agencies and spending all their money. So if you want to just keep it in house, do it yourself or get someone on your team to do it. Tell us about the course.
Yeah, definitely. So my course is called Maximize with Ads, and it really is my all of the years I spent at Zappos, all of the years I spent in marketing, and really trying to figure out, how do we elevate good marketing? I teach people how to create good marketing, how to elevate good marketing, and my medium is advertising. And so I teach you how to do it in a way that shifts from thinking, that one to one kind of selling to one to many kind of selling. And so the course gives you everything you need, from how to set up your tech, how to set up your pixel, how to select your audiences, all the way through how to create a strategy that actually works for your business. So what should your ad funnel actually be? Like, when you're thinking about, the funnel that you already have set up or the customer journey that you have, how do you translate that to advertising? How do you really kind of create messaging that impacts people, and ads that actually cut through the noise and attract your ideal clients? And so that's really what the course teaches you how to do. It's video modules. It's very, very, I would say quick, but they are in depth for sure. But then I would also say that I also have scripts and templates and ads, and ad copy and calculators and all the things that help to make it easy for people, because that's one of the things people say is like, I don't know what to say in my ads. I don't know what they should look like. Well, I give you the templates, I give you the scripts and all the things. And also it comes with a private community, which is one of the biggest things I'm super excited about, is to really be able to grow our community of women-owned businesses that are really kind of looking to be around a community of people who don't poo-poo advertising, because some people do poo-poo advertising, and some people are like, why would you waste money on ads? Why would you do this? Da, da, da. So if you want to be in a community of people that are like, yes, I'm investing in advertising because I'm taking my business very seriously, and I also take my time very seriously, and I also don't want to build a business where I'm glued to my laptop all the time. So that's really the community that we're creating. And we have monthly strategy sessions. We're rolling out office hours where you can actually jump on a Zoom call with me and get your questions answered. So that way we really can make it so that your journey with advertising is as smooth as possible. And so that's what I teach. And I really love to teach. I really found that kind of after shifting my business and offers and all that kind of stuff, I really kind of got into alignment with teaching. And so I love to teach. I love to give people this information. And quickly, just about working with ad agencies. Honestly, I have audited ad agencies, and I have helped them to get better performance for their clients. So keep in mind that even if you are deciding to go the route of working with an agency, that you should understand how advertising works in general. Because if you don't understand how advertising works, just a basic high level of how it works, you will be just trusting your ad provider to do what they say their skill is. But as we know, as people and as business owners, that everybody doesn't, is not as skilled as things that they say. Some people know how to build ads, but they don't know marketing strategy. And so just keep that in mind, that if you are going to go the route of advertising, because I'm not, I'm not anti-agency. I think it really just depends on your business and, your acumen about what you want to do. But really just keep in mind that you should definitely have a basic understanding of how they work in order for you to be successful, even if you're working with an agency or you're doing things on your own.
100%. And I have had this conversation so many times about websites, about email marketing. You need to know at least a little bit of the basics to understand, like, is this person or this company doing the job, that they said they could do, right? On the flip side of that, I want to say, this another reason I wanted to have this conversation is because it's such a marriage made in heaven. Because on our side,
Mhm.
we've transitioned from, coaching and teaching you how to do the things to just doing the thing.
Mhm.
So, we've already established you want to have your funnel in place. You want to have that customer journey in place before you start running ads. And so, if I'm somebody watching this and I'm thinking, hey, I need both of these things in my business, check out our CRM to sales, which is our offer where we audit what you're doing right now and we create that welcome sequence, and that we don't write the copy, let me be clear, but you provide the copy and we will build out the technology to build out that funnel and that automation for you so that you are ready to welcome those leads in with your ads. And because it's done for you, you could come hire us to be working on building that out for you while you go through the course and learn and get your head wrapped around Facebook ads, so that when you're ready to go, now you have some place for those people to be. I think that's a winning strategy. I don't
Yeah,
know about
it
everybody.
definitely is. It's a winning strategy. I mean, it's required, to be honest. Like, it's required that you have a way of moving people to a sale in an automated fashion. Before you start running ads, like, yeah, can you run an ad to your sales page? Sure, you can run ads directly to your sales page. But what happens if they abandon cart? What happens if they start to add their stuff to the cart and then their kid, throws something off the balcony and they got to go and, take care of that? And then they forget, right? You have your automated things in place to help people to finish completing the sale. And so it's definitely required, I think, for you to be able to be successful with advertising, and honestly being able to be successful with any kind of marketing. As you scale, as you get more people into your world, the cracks that you have in your funnel will get bigger. And so you
Mhm.
have to start to really kind of plug those leaks if you want to be successful and you want to scale your business to, a million, multi-millions, wherever you want to get to. Those funnel leaks just get bigger. So
Yeah.
having someone to come in and fix them for you is definitely, I would say, a requirement before you start, scaling your advertising.
For real. And girl, I'm vibing with the theme of distraction right now because we have a new puppy. He's 11 weeks old. So I don't
Yeah,
have more than 10 minutes at a time before I'm like, "Wait,
yeah,
what are you doing?" So, all right.
exactly.
This has been amazing. I hope y'all have gotten just so many nuggets. I hope you're on our way to our respective sales pages right now. And follow us, join our email community, follow Stacy and all the places. And if you are watching this on the replay, hashtag replay, drop your questions. Let's keep the conversation going. Stacy, thank you so much for your time. Ever since we met, I'm like, okay, that's one to watch. I got to keep my eye on her. So I'm so happy to have this conversation, and thank you so much.
Yeah, same here. Thanks for having me.